Welcome back, everybody, to the Even Your Dynasty show. It's Wednesday. Spring training is actually going on. Real games happening again. We're going to get to actually talk some baseball here soon. I will be doing our, weekly updates on spring training, how certain players are doing for anybody that isn't keeping super close tabs on that right now. But we're getting a lot of good action over there. But before we get into all that, today I wanted to do a video kind of talking about the guy that I think is actually going to be the Giants' biggest X factor for 2025. I did this last year. I said Marco Luciano was their biggest X factor for 2024. Well, he had a pretty rough year, both in Sacramento and in San Francisco last season. Didn't really have much of an impact. So probably could have picked a guy that, might have had more potential impact on the games up in San Francisco. But at the time I made that video, it looked like he was going to be their starting shortstop. So this season, the guy I'm going to talk about, though, is pretty well cemented into a starting job. And that's because I think Robbie Ray is going to be their biggest X factor for next season. I know he's not wildly popular with a lot of Giants fans. A lot of people view him as kind of one of the last big moves of the Farhan regime, where they dumped Anthony DeSclafani and Mitch Haniger on Seattle and took back, more money at the end of the day and a couple extra years of commitments when they brought Robbie Ray back. But I actually think he has a chance to be really impactful and important on this upcoming season. And a lot of talk has been on Verlander. There's been a lot of talk on Jordan Hicks. And even, a lot of people talking about either Kyle Harrison, Hayden Birdsong, Landon Roop, any of those young guys that could potentially step up as the fifth starter and hopefully provide a lot of production for them. But at the end of the day, I actually view Robbie Ray as the guy that's going to be kind of most important of the guys behind Logan Webb for this upcoming season. So before I dive into why, for those of you that do enjoy the content, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel. We passed 1,500 subscribers. We will be doing a giveaway on our next live show. That might actually be next week where we do a live show like our normal format. We are in the process of working on getting a guest for this coming Friday, and I'm just waiting on confirmation. So if we get confirmation, it'll be the following week. If we don't, and we're going to be doing a normal live show this Friday, then we will do the giveaway this Friday. But we'll get into kind of what the item is. We'll send an announcement out for that and let everyone know kind of what that ends up being. Also, you guys have probably seen Dan wearing it the last few times. We got the new hoodies in. We're going to do, whenever we do get up to 2,000 subscribers, we'll do a giveaway of one of these hoodies. For those of you wondering, it's got the logo on the back. So they're really comfortable. The material is super soft inside. So that'll be exciting when we get to do that giveaway. That'll be at 2,000 subscribers. So appreciate everyone's support there. Now, on to why I think Robbie Ray is going to be the most important thing. Well, for me, it pretty much boils down to one thing. And it's one thing that I've stressed for, since this channel's been around, essentially, is if you look at the last couple of years for the Giants, out of their starting pitching, they've had the least amount of innings pitched from their starters in 2023. And last season, they were second to last in innings pitched out of their starting pitching. So in the last 2 years, they've either been last or second to last on innings pitched. I look at a guy like Robbie Ray, who, he's not going to be your prototypical number two. I think that'd be unfair to think that he is going to be a guy that's going to give you a sub-3 ERA. Now, he's capable. He's done it twice in his career. He had a 2.89 ERA in 2017 with Arizona, and then he had a 2.84 ERA in Toronto in 2021, the year he won the Cy Young Award. But he's now going to be 33. He's in his first full healthy year since Tommy John surgery. Obviously, he made 7 starts at the end of last year. I'm not expecting Cy Young Robbie Ray to walk through the door. If he does, that'd be amazing. But I'm not expecting that out of him. But if you do go through his career, 2016 through 174 and a third innings, 2017, 162 innings, 2018, he did deal with a little bit of injuries. It was actually one of the only years where he dealt with some injuries outside of his Tommy John surgery, and he only threw 123 and 2/3 that year. But then he comes back, and then his last 3 full years, tossing 2020 in the trash because It was a short season. He threw 174 in a third innings, 193 in a third innings a year that he won the Cy Young, and 189 innings in 2022 with Seattle. So if you get a fully healthy Robbie Ray this coming season, and by all accounts he is, I could see him giving the Giants somewhere between 160 and 170 innings, somewhere in that range. And if he can do that and give you a 3.6, 3.7 ERA, something like that, that is quality innings where you're getting a second starter behind Logan Webb that can actually eat up some innings. And they really desperately need it. That takes a ton of pressure off of Verlander, takes a ton of pressure off of some of the young kids. I'm not putting a lot of faith in Jordan Hicks giving you 150 plus innings. I would love to see it. I can't do it yet. But it takes some of the pressure off some of those guys if you do get, 170-ish innings, 165, whatever innings out of Robbie Ray, especially if they're quality innings. Obviously, it's not going to do us anything if he gives you 160 innings, but he pitches to a 4.5 ERA. That doesn't do anything really for the team. Your team's probably still not going to be great. But by getting a second starter out there that actually can eat up some innings, it should help with the bullpen, which you look at the Giants bullpen, they have the talent of a team that should be a top, 5, 6, 7 bullpen in baseball. And they've been kind of middle of the pack. Well, why have they been middle of the pack? Because they get overworked. 2 straight years, the bullpen has been severely overworked, and they've still finished the year around the middle of the pack as far as ERA goes, or most efficiency numbers. They've been right around the middle of the pack as far as production goes. So if you get those guys if you're able to keep all those guys fresh, and you're not overworking a Ryan Walker where he appears in 70 plus games, or a Tyler Rogers, or whoever it is in that pen, which you have a lot of quality arms. Walker's really solid. Tyler Rogers is really solid as a setup guy. Eric Miller looked really good and like a late inning option by the end of last year. You have, maybe Landon Roop ends up in the pen. He was really good. Tristan Beck is back and healthy. Doval, if he comes back and he looks closer to the all-star version of himself than he was last year, that's a huge get for the bullpen. You have guys like Randy Rodriguez, Sean Jelly, a lot of quality arms that you can throw, plus some young guys that are pretty explosive down in AAA, guys like Ragsdale. Trent Harris might be on the way at some point soon. Some of those guys, maybe Carson Wisenhunt, if they give up on him as a starter, which I wouldn't yet, but if they gave up on him as a starter, his changeup could be absolutely lethal out of the pen. They have a ton of quality arms, but it's not going to do you anything if these guys are throwing way too often and are severely overworked. That's how you end up in the middle of the pack. So if a guy like Robbie Ray can have a big year, this team, or this bullpen, which should be a strength, will have the opportunity to actually be a strength for this team and give them a chance to, win a lot of tight games, and be hopefully the best version of this team that they can be at that point. And, I look at Robbie Ray, and he's always been kind of a fastball slider guy. He's pitched efficiently and effectively at doing that. He has added a changeup, supposedly. He was working with Tariq Skubal on that, learned kind of his grip. He threw it a little bit against the A's in yesterday's game. Sounds like it was pretty effective. I'm not putting my faith in that becoming some plus pitch and dominant pitch or anything, but giving him a third pitch, that should help him. And, I know a lot of people watched last season. He only made 7 starts. It was a lot of up and down. He had some good moments. The 5 no-hit innings against the Dodgers is an example. But he did what myself, Ricky, Dan, what we all expected out of him for a guy coming off Tommy John. And that's, the command was not there. The feel for the pitches was not there. And it was just about getting out there and getting some game action. I think we're going to see a much better version of Robbie Ray in 2025 than we did last season. So hopefully he can kind of, give the rotation some stability. And then if you do get some good, if you get a good season out of Justin Verlander, now you've got 3 guys that are really good. And then hopefully at that point, we also get production out of the other guys in the rotation, whether that's Hicks, Harrison, Birdsong, even, Roop, whoever ends up in the rotation, aside from those front 3, hopefully we do get some production out of them because they're going to need it. At the end of the day, Robbie Ray is not going to be the whole season. I don't think is going to necessarily come down to him, but I feel like he is the biggest X factor on this team. Now, a few other guys that I considered, I did think about, a guy like Jung-Hoo Lee coming back, giving them a high contact guy, hopefully a good batting average guy, really great defense in center field. I think he's going to have a big impact. Some of these, big time bats that they are going to need production out of, whether that's Elliot Ramos backing up what he did last year, Adames coming in and being who Willie Adames has been for years, Chapman having a big year at the plate. I felt like they kind of need all those guys. But to me, just the overall trickle down effect that a guy like Robbie Ray having a big season out of, how that impacts the whole pitching staff, to me, that's why I went with him as my decision. So I want to hear from all you guys. Tell us what you think or who you think is going to be the Giants' biggest X factor for 2025 on whether or not they'll be, I have a hard time thinking they'll be a great team, but whether or not they're going to be a pretty good team or if they're going to just be mid or bad or however you guys feel about it. I know a lot of people aren't overly positive on this team right now. So let me hear your guys' thoughts, and we'll be back Friday with our live show. Let's take it easy. Bye.